following podcast contains spoilers and words like gee, whiz, and gosh darn it. We watch the thing. We watch the thing. Hello everybody and welcome to We Watched a Thing. You've got Billy in your ears, but this week you've got a very, very special guest. It's Damian Robb from Scaredy Boys. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing great, buddy. It's so good to be here.
It's awesome to have you. I love Scaredy Boys. I love everything you do. I mean, as well as Scaredy Boys, you're a great writer. I just finished reading your novella, Henry and the Hamster, which was awesome. Yeah.
Cheers.
And
man. Glad you liked it.
And you've got the Short Tales podcast as well, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really curious to talk about this film with you from kind of a writing perspective, because Jordan Peele, man, he's pretty great.
He's too great, honestly. Like the fact that obviously he's come from comedy, so we know he does comedy so well. And then it's like the thing with these movies, like the comedy comes through, but it's really secondary to the story and the way it's affecting us. So one, he's just a fucking great writer, and then from a director's point of view, he's got such a unique eye for the interesting and the strange, and he's too talented.
I think there's an amazing link between comedy and horror, because so much of both relies on timing. Like I feel the same way when I see John Krasinski come out with something like A Quiet Place, and it's like, man, there's just this amazing sense of timing.
Yeah, that's a great call. And like even you saying that, so when we're in the cinema watching this one, there was obviously, because there's a few jokes earlier on that are pretty good. You have a good chuckle, getting to know the characters. The characters are very amusing. The comedy sort of comes from the characters. And then once sort of a few of the scarier beats come in, there was this like tittering in the crowd, in the audience. And it's so interesting, like you say, there's that link with horror and comedy where for some, like, either way you need to like release something. And for some people, it literally comes out as laughter, even though they might be scared. And then other people, it's like, scared or cringe or whatever your go-to emotion is. But you're so right. It's like this build up and then a release. And then, both sort of work in the same way, albeit with very different emotional reactions.
Yeah. Well, let's get straight into it then. So Nope is a 2022 American science fiction horror film written, directed and produced, as we said, by Jordan Peele. It stars Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, Stephen Yeun, Michael Wincott and Brandon Perea. And what is it about, Damo?
That's such a good fucking question.
See, I love just making the other person answer this question.
Well, more, I think for this one, it's particularly pertinent because it's sort of, there was so much allure around what this thing was going to be. But anyway, to answer your actual question. So it's sort of about these two siblings who own this sort of family ranch. Their father dies after a nickel weirdly, strangely falls from the sky and ends up killing him, as well as a bunch of other sort of weird debris. And then after that, they're running the family ranch. It's running low on money. And then they realize there's what is basically an unidentified flying object nearby, and seek to sort of capture evidence of it in order to sort of get the fame and money that could bring. Yeah,
cool. Yeah. So I believe that you guys have did you guys do Us on Scaredy Boys, but you haven't done Get Out?
Yeah, we haven't done Get Out. We've done Us, which to me is, including this one, I still think Us is the scariest of the three.
This is what I was just going to ask you, because I don't know your thoughts on Get Out or anything. So what's your experience with Peele in the past? Do you reckon Us is the scariest one?
I think Us is the scariest more because it just sort of, it aligns more with sort of traditional horror tropes, I suppose. Yeah. Where like there is definitely an unsettling about Get Out and this one as well. And this one probably, I honestly think weirdly Get Out is, I don't know, I think like the empathy of Get Out, the empathy of the character going through this thing and being so helpless and out of control of their own body. To me, there's a definite strong thread of horror running through that experience. But then in terms of things like jump scares and creepy imagery and like the voice Lupita Nyong'o does in Us that still rattles me when I just think about like it's all those things in Us, and the home invaders and the sort of just the imagery that he uses with these doppelgangers that obviously look like the family and the creepiness of them. To me that one that was like haunting. I remember the day after we watched it, so my wife hadn't watched it, and we were just going for a walk the next day. I'm like, oh, I got to tell you about this movie. It was so interesting. And, she's been forced to watch horror and has slowly become more of a horror fan just because I don't want to watch them by myself. But anyway, this was early days for Scaredy Boys. So I kind of ended up telling her the whole synopsis. I used Lupita Nyong'o's voice to really try to give it to her. And it was like a beautiful sunny day. We're walking around this gorgeous river. And by the end of it, we both kind of felt creeped out. Like that's how powerful the story was, But yeah, for Get Out in this one, I don't think it's had that sense of dread like it's almost that sense of like I'm scared for myself. I think when watching Us and some horrors where like I'm worried that something creepy is going to come on screen and I'm going to get scared, or some jump scare is going to come out and I'm going to get scared, rather than I think for Get Out and potentially Nope as well, it's more about empathy for the characters over yourself.
I definitely feel I agree 100% that Us was the scariest, and I think that Get Out is the best of the three. There's a lot that I like and admire about Nope. I think I wanted to like it more than I did is my issue.
Yeah, okay.
So it was very hyped up in my head, and I had managed to avoid. I haven't seen a single trailer for this film before walking in, which is just kind of my thing. It's been about 7 years now since I last saw a trailer.
That's very impressive.
I know. In fact, I heard you guys on Scaredy Boys just last week talking about Men, having a little bit of a joke about the fact that I didn't realize Rory Kinnear played all the men. I hadn't seen anything about that film before.
Well, like I'm genuinely impressed by that. Obviously, with social media going the way it is, it's like there's like trailers to the trailers. Like overhyping a movie before it comes out with every little fucking snippet they can think of. And I have to admit, I'm like a fucking pig at the trough. I'm like, give me those little snippets. So for you to avoid that, I'm genuinely impressed. For me with the trailer for this one, just while we're on it, so a mate of mine, I kind of knew that there was all this like hype about Nope, and there was like a bit of a teaser trailer, which I immediately did check out, but it was all vibes and no actual story, no really answering any questions. And then the next trailer came out and everyone's like, don't watch it. It apparently gives away too much, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't watch it because I wanted to go in Billy style. I didn't want to know anything about it. But then because obviously we do Scaredy Boys, we went and watched, it could have even been Men now that I think of it. We went and watched that. And of course, what trailer are they going to show before this horror movie? Yeah. And so literally I was like, oh shit, what do I do? I like just literally closed my eyes, stuck my finger in my ears. I'm like, I don't know what else to do these next minutes.
I've done that. I agree 100% with what you said as well. I think that this is probably the least scary of the three for me. I would almost, it's funny, there are a number of jump scares, but I would almost call it a stretch to call this film a horror film. I think that this genuinely sits much more in the sci-fi category. What I loved about this film most is the way that it reminded me of those really kind of old B horror sci-fi movies that I used to love. Movies like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman or, Plan 9 from Outer Space. Like, I think this movie shares a huge link with films like that. And when this film really leaned into that was when I was having the most fun with this movie.
I agree, man. I that was kind of like a comment I made. So Sean and I and Holly watched it together, and he kind of said the same thing as you in terms of, is this a horror movie? Is this scary enough for us to sort of cover on Scaredy Boys or whatever? And ultimately, I'm like, yeah, why not? Like, we've done the less scary movies, and obviously Jordan Peele makes it, that kind of adds to it being a horror movie. But you're right, I definitely think 100% it's much more sci-fi than it is horror. And so kind of we left feeling the same way. Like, well, there's some jump scares, but they're not like. They're almost those what we would call sort of cheapy jump scares where obviously the thing that scared you proves out to be nothing. And so you're like, you got me. That's cheating, whatever. But didn't really sort of affect us in the same way other horrors do. Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest scare in the film for me was the little costumed kids.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that's it. Like, when they came on the scene, that's when I was starting to feel Get Us vibes again, because it's like, oh, here he goes. We're kicking off, And it was effective. Like, they were creepy as all get out, even though, sure enough, they're just children.
Yeah.
But then it kind of, and then it died, it pulled back a bit. And like, definitely the big monster, which I'm assuming we'll get to in a little bit, did have some horror elements to it, but it felt distant, I think, literally, physically. I
agree, actually. I think this film for me was a little bit diminishing returns, I guess, in terms of Jordan Peele's 3 debut films, but also in terms of as the film went on. I think that the final act of this film is the weakest for me, and by the end was when I was left a little bit kind of unsure how I felt about the movie, which is always, to me, it's actually a good thing. When you walk out of a movie and you don't quite know how you felt about it, that's much better than walking out and being like, well, that was just crap.
Like, oh, hell yeah. There's nothing less satisfying than that. Yeah. I think for me, I kind of know, I know there's sort of that disconnect you're feeling, because again, going in with expectation, it's so hard with like, especially films you're excited by, like, or you can't help but bring some like positive baggage too, but it still ultimately turns out to be baggage, because then sure enough, if it doesn't meet expectation, am I happy about this or sad about this? I kind of don't actually know. So for me, I think I was like, I kind of got to a point where I'm like, literally like weirdly, because I am a scaredy boy, the horror expectations didn't really hit what I thought they were going to hit. And I found myself being a bit like, kind of like weirdly let down by that. But then I kind of, at some point during the film, I'm like, no, just take this for the awesome, like you said, that elevated B-movie story that it is, that sci-fi. I'm like, I love a bit of I like any genre, really, any genre sort of stories anyway. So once I kind of go, okay, it's not going to get as scary as you thought it was going to be, which ultimately, I should be happy about. But the other genre elements, the Western, the sci-fi stuff. And then, like you said, I kind of had the same thought as you. I'm like, this is a B-movie, but with an A-movie plot and story behind it. So it's like, it is this sort of richer story, but with these awesome ideas that are like really fun and interesting and visually cool to look at.
Well, let's get into the story and the structure and the narrative of the film then, because this film does, as I think Jordan Peele is just prone to do, he can't just make a movie. He has to to really kind of dive into things, and I think this movie actually has a lot going on, I think. Even though, like you said, it's quite easy to kind of simply sum this up. 2 kids who live on a farm try to capture a picture of a UFO. Like, that kind of sums up the story, but not really. Can we start with the gaudy subplot and how you felt about that? Because that's how the film opens. So, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, see, that one was interesting. I liked it. Watching the movie, I thought it was a really effective way to open it, because it
great
was
opening
like,
scene. Yeah,
when the friggin' monkey looks at the camera and that cuts away, you're like, holy fuck! Like, I don't know what just happened. I don't know what but it was like the perfect sort of. Again, if it was like a scarier movie, in fact, I would say it was the perfect sort of little appetizer. Yeah. But I kind of felt that was the one part of the movie leaving that I'm like, I don't 100%. I think it was more for theme. The theme of obviously spectacle 100%, and our obsession with spectacle and and the sort of the damage that it does. Yeah. But in terms of the story, I don't think it really played a big enough part to warrant it. It was just like very visually interesting, which I loved. But story wise, I found it a bit like unnecessary ultimately.
Yeah, definitely. And by the end of the film, it's not a crazy long film, but it is, 2 hours, 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And I reckon a good 30 minutes is made up of that gaudy storyline majoritively through flashback. And you're right, it doesn't ultimately lead anywhere. Obviously, it ties in thematically, but I think this is one of those films where, interestingly for me, much like Men, but not to the same extent, I don't feel that there's a whole lot of subtlety in the theme, and nor kind of should there be, given what the theme is. Like you said, it's about spectacle and our kind of appetite for that, and so this film should be kind of big and bold, and it is. Like, it's much bigger than any of Jordan Peele's previous films. Like, I would argue that the entire last kind of third is more action film than anything.
Yes, I agree. It kind of plays with a number of different genres. Like we said, we've already said horror and sort of sci-fi, and there's a Western element, obviously. Yeah. But then, definitely becomes this action creature feature, and so I think, and that kind of did make it a bit of a bumpy ride, I suppose, along the way. But for me, ultimately, I was like, but they landed. For me, they landed it. Yeah, and so right. Kind of like, wow, just kind of impressed ultimately at the end of it.
Yeah. So were you satisfied by kind of Steven Yeun's ending, given that kind of gaudy storyline had kind of kicked everything off?
Yeah, again, you've managed to pick out the one part that I probably do take issue with. Yeah. No, well done. Like the ending for our brother and sister, loved it. Really good. Same. Happy with that. Yeah. give that the big green tick. Yeah, the Stephen Yeun, like I really liked his character. He was interesting.
Same, I loved him. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like obviously they did that thing where he's, you know, quite he's showing them through his little museum, being very proud, being very kind of, you know, slightly arrogant about it all. And then it cuts to him, we get a little flashback within his mind of him remembering that awful, awful day and how bad it was. And so to me, I kind of can't, that's where, his storyline is the weakest, because if he was so traumatized by the whole Gordy stuff, why is he the one to then try to recreate it with the alien ultimately?
Yeah.
And then for him to just be gone, like I was waiting for him to
come
back in some way. Yeah. Like if his family had kind of got taken, I'm like, okay, they're paying the price for your hubris.
Yeah.
Great. I can get behind that. And now he's got to help them bring it down or whatever. But yeah, it kind of felt a bit not anticlimactic, because obviously he literally gets sucked up into a freaking alien, but, you know, but like in terms of the story, it didn't really sort of have its final act almost.
Yeah, I think that's my one thing for me, and the reason why when I walked out I wasn't sure how I felt, because I do think to a certain extent this feels like several different movies kind of pushed together. Like I feel like that Gordy subplot is probably enough to carry its own weight.
I agree. Or like at least, the very least, like a super engaging short film that would probably, you know, go viral or whatever.
For sure, yeah. And it's one of those things, and I'm sure you've experienced this as a writer too, where like that opening scene is so great. I can almost picture Jordan Peele just imagining that in his head and thinking, oh, fuck, that's great. And just kind of not really knowing what to do with it, but wanting to use it anyway.
Yes. Yeah. It's probably a matter of, you know, kill your darlings, where he's got this little darling gem of a scene, and it is so arresting.
Fantastic scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's full of like those Peele-esque visuals. Like the one thing he does so fucking well is like there's that, the shoe or the slipper or whatever it is just standing on its toe. And it's, I don't even know how he does it, but just the way he sort of makes something ordinary, and it's just sort of either being where it shouldn't, or it's doing something it shouldn't, and there's unsettling. It's just unsettling. So even if it's just a shoe standing on its toe, there's something so upsetting about it, even though there's nothing supernatural. It's just this.
I know.
Yeah, so I could see him kind of visualizing that, going, I've got to film it. He's filmed it. It does look great. The monkey is terrifying, and like you never like, it's a monkey, like part of you's like, maybe I could take a monkey, you know.
Oh, I know, but then when you see later that flashback where you actually like see the attack and you're like, holy shit, this is brutal, I could not survive that monkey.
Exactly, that's it. And I don't know if you've ever seen, I remember seeing on the internet at some stage, don't ask me what I was searching, but a chimp that had been like shaved for some reason.
Yeah, right.
And they are just all muscle. Like,
that sounds horrific.
Crazy, like ripped. Yeah, like it is horrific. So like, again, all of that sort of stuff worked on its own, but then when we tie that back into the greater story, other than thematically, and obviously giving that backstory for Stephen Yeun's character, I don't think it's all that strong, I guess.
Yeah. I know I kind of complained a little bit about the themes maybe being a little bit unsubtle, but I've got to say, you brought it up, that shoe is the one thing where I'm still thinking about it days later going, what did that mean? Did it mean anything, or was it just a cool shot and I'm now trying to read something into it?
I find that so often with like interesting directors, and like this has always been my problem with David Lynch, where I can't really get on board with Lynch, because I'm like, if he's doing it purposefully, I'm on board. I'm there for it. Except he's like the kind of guy's like, no, I just dreamt it, so I put it in there. You're like, okay, well, it doesn't mean anything, Steve. Like, come on. What are you doing, David? So, for me, like, same with this, I'm like, is this just, you know, Jordan Peele had one of his interesting ideas and popped it on the screen. Does it tie in? Does it not? Again, same as you, I couldn't tell you, but it's going to keep friggin' playing in my mind for a little while.
Yeah.
Well, on the storytelling side of things, there's one thing I kind of wanted to chat about that I sort of noticed just in one of the early scenes, actually. It was during the stuff falling from the sky, the nickel killing the father, all that sort of stuff, which again, talk about visually interesting. Like, that's so compelling. And that's where I was like, from that scene, I was like, oh, I'm going to enjoy this movie. That's pure genre. That's pure like unexplained mystery. I've got to know what happens. Great. But then as I was watching it, there was the scene where he's watching his dad kind of slowly fall off the horse, and we're probably ahead of him. We realize what's going on. And then it cuts from him sort of running towards dad to they're in the car together, and dad's sort of leaning against the window, and he's trying to name all those composers and all this sort of stuff. And then, you know, it sort of builds right to the point of like, shit, dad's in a real bad way. All of a sudden he's slurring his words and whatever. Then we cut to the hospital, and just this sort of show don't tell storytelling, which is obviously a phrase that gets used way too much in story terms, but like, here is the example of it. We don't need
Yes.
to see him run up to dad and be like, Dad, oh no, I'm feeling really bad that my dad might be dying right now, because we know that. We get it. If someone, his dad just got randomly slaughtered by this fucking nickel, of course we get all the emotion he's feeling without having to, soap opera show it on screen or whatever,
Yeah.
And then same for even in the car. Okay, dad's getting worse, but we've got all the information we need, and then we cut to him in the hospital,
Yeah.
So again, I just sort of was like, oh fuck, even his directorial storytelling, it's pretty on point. It's pretty good.
It really is. And from memory, I'm trying to remember the order of the sequence. I don't even do we actually see his dad die, or do we just learn that later on when he's then at the film set?
We get you're right. We kind of get that one shot of him in the hospital bed where you see his eye kind of for the first time.
Yes.
It's quite horrific.
Yeah.
But I think he is technically still alive in that shot.
Yeah. Which again, great story. We don't need to have that beat of him seeing him die. And so we find that out later, and that's fantastic. And we get that amazing introduction with his sister as well, who is one of the best characters on film ages. She's just so much fun.
Immediately, again, there was that one part of the trailer that I had in that first trailer that I had seen where it's her doing that spiel, that opening scene with her in it. I was just like, all she says is like, the first black man on a horse, whatever, and she does this twirl that wasn't even in the final movie, but you're like, already I love this character. Already I know who she is, I get her vibe, I'm on board, she's fucking great.
Yeah, and she brings so much of the comedy to the film without ever feeling like a comedic relief, which is really hard to do. She feels like a fully fleshed out character who you believe and care about, and yet she's so funny. Especially compared to Daniel Kaluuya's kind of mopey, more stern character.
He's like basically non-verbal a lot of the time. Yeah.
Like there's that fantastic scene where he's gone off to check out the horse, and she just starts playing that music so fucking loud, and you just can't help but have fun with that character, I think.
Oh, she's so good. And even just that, to go back to that scene of them doing the safety protocols or whatever it was on the movie set, and to have him have to start trying to do it, and he's obviously so nervous and mumbly and doesn't want to do it, and they're like, you need to pitch to the back of the room and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. And
then she comes in and she's immediately big, and she is pitching to the back of the room without being told, and she's like such a showman, and it's like, fuck, that's such a great introduction to these two characters, who are obviously polar opposites, and we it's so good to see that though, and have her come in and do all the things he couldn't, and realize they need each other in that sense.
You're right. Yeah. It's just more of that show don't tell. We don't need to be told who these characters are. Just through that one scene, we can see who these characters are, and we know them almost completely from that one introduction, which is brilliant fucking filmmaking.
Yeah, I agree. And then another, while we're on the character side of things, the Angel character, the
I
tech
loved
guy,
him as well. Yeah.
He was so fucking great. I don't really know that actor from anything that I recognize, but he kind of stole the show a little bit for me. He came in and at first you're like, is that Dave Franco? No, it's not Dave Franco. Is that, what's his name from, I'm going to forget his name now. What's that movie about the deaf drummer?
Oh my God.
Riz Ahmed.
Yes.
He looks like Riz Ahmed and Dave Franco. That's why I had a love child. It looks like, anyway. But he was so funny in a believable way.
Yes.
I think. Yep. Yeah. And I actually read in one article, originally Jordan Peele wrote the character as more your sort of typical tech nerd kind of guy.
Yeah, right.
And then apparently it was the actor Brandon Perea, or however you say his last name, who sort of came in and said, I actually think I think there's a better character here, and kind of pushed to sort of it become the character he obviously knew he could play.
Yeah.
And obviously, and it worked so well. I found that such a more interesting,
That's interesting. And I think that just shows more of Peele's skill as well. And that probably comes from his sketch comedy days as well, that eye for understanding collaboration and the collaborative process. Because I think there's a lot of writers and directors who miss that and could put out better movies if they played more into that. So that's cool to know.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's this thing with comedy characters where obviously they're stereotypical. It's sort of too much on the nose and we have this disconnect. But I think to me, the best comedy characters are ones where they are 110% selling this as a real character. They're not ever winking at the camera, Steve Carell as Michael Scott. It's because he can make the most bullshit absurdity seem believable that this character would do these things, you know, even though it's so insane. And it's because there must be the temptation to wink at the camera sometimes and be like, I'm in on the joke. But by playing it 100% dramatic, that's where the comedy actually comes from.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that watching his performance where he like, especially when there was one moment when he's talking about his ex-girlfriend or whatever and like trying to like talk to these basically strangers and kind of going on a bit about it because clearly he's heartbroken.
Yeah.
And then there's this like, they stop and have this conversation that's sort of like talking around the alien and there's like, you know, there's a bit of tension or whatever. And then he's like, anyway, here's the photo of her. And like he's trying like continues on. And I just thought, oh, that's it. I love this character.
Yeah, no, agreed 100%. It's that authenticity, just delivering it with a complete straight face. It's funny that you brought up Steve Carell in The Office as well, because I remember Greg Daniels, who created the US version of The Office, I remember him talking about creating character and saying something very similar where he was like, the way to make a character believable and funny is in specificity. God, I cannot say that word. Specificity. So like, you know, it's easy to say this guy's a nerd, but you know, with Dwight, for example, he's a nerd who likes heavy metal and like give them, you know, something that is, you know, specific to that character, and it just makes them seem so much more real. And I think you're right. I think you get that with all of the characters in this film, where with again through that showing, not telling, they feel really like real people.
Hell yeah. Yeah, like even Keke Palmer's awesome outfits that she pops on, you're just like, yep, that's what that character would wear. I've never seen that combination, but it looks fucking great. She's rocking it and suits her personality. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like so far we haven't really gotten into the A plot line of this film yet, the UFO itself. Where were you on, I guess, firstly, the visuals there and the creature design elements, but also just that storyline going forward and the narrative there? Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it. Again, I think once I sort of made that decision of like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was, but I think I'm just going to commit to it. I think it was maybe a little slow in the middle at points. I think they probably could have cut a little bit there personally for my taste, especially if we are going, this is sort of the B movie idea, you know, with an A movie plot and story, budget and story, but I still think cool, have the speed of a B, like take the best parts of a B movie, which is often, they're just a tight 90 minutes, they're a lot of fun, and, you know, we get through it. But on the character, the creature design, I thought it was honestly really great. Like there was this sort of feeling after we left and like Holly, my wife, was like looking at the skies and sort of made the comment like, yeah, it does make you a bit unsettled by the sky. Like that's an achievement already, like this big open thing that you can't avoid. Like I kind of like the idea that it's this, like, so I read another, Alexi Toliopoulos, who's a critic, on his Letterboxd review, he likened it to Jaws. I thought, oh yes, that's so what it is, but it's Jaws for the sky, basically.
I didn't even think of that, but you're right. The way that the kind of creature is revealed to us throughout the course of the film, rather than just up front, like that scene where Angel first comes to them and says that cloud's not moving.
Yes,
like, that is it's a great concept, and it's executed very well. I agree that I think that subplot moved a little bit slower, but I'm actually wondering if that is just because it was kind of interspersed with Jupe's Gordy storyline. Like I feel like if you lose that, you are closer to that kind of 90-minute run.
Yeah, you're probably right there, dude. Yeah, that's a good point. I think, yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. The creature design was just cool. It was very... It was cool without going over the top. Like this thing, for the first half, it almost... It was funny when they first mentioned it's not a UFO, it's an animal. I was a bit like, really? Because it kind of looked like a UFO to me. Like, and then it kind of started to look a little bit like a silly cowboy hat. And then as it went on, it looked more and more kind of organic and, material-like. Like, I think of that great scene where Jupe and the others are being sucked up into it. And it kind of looks like they're just rolling around in a big sheet of material. And I'm like, that's fucking perfect for what this film is. Like, that is so great.
Again, that's where like those B-movie roots start to come in. But in a way that's just... so engaging and entertaining and endearing, I think. Yeah, same sort of thing. Like I really love just the idea when he's like, it doesn't move like a vessel or vehicle or whatever it was that his line was, and it all sort of clicks. Like, holy shit, it's like this animal. I thought that was so like that idea, I like have to think that must have been the root of where this movie came from in my mind, because I've not seen that idea again. It feels like the kind of sci-fi idea that might have existed on some forgotten TV show from, the 1950s or 60s or whatever.
Yep.
But like the idea that every sort of UFO shape we've seen is actually just this organic creature, and the reason they get, they're not getting taken, they're not getting pulled up by a laser beam or whatever. It's literally just, it's sucking them up so it can eat them. Like, I think that's so fucking good. And so to play with all that, and like you said, that first half where it is just, it's sort of more standard UFO shape and everything like that. And then once that twist comes in and they start to like really unpack it, and it opens up and obviously becomes this almost sort of fathomable being. Like I love that sort of thing where you can never really get the full grasp of it. There's always a part that
exactly
you can't quite see, and
it's constantly evolving too. Like every shot, it almost looks slightly different. Like especially as it starts kind of ballooning out. Yeah, and it's you're right. You couldn't now draw this creature. Like I'd be able to draw it at certain stages, but I couldn't say to someone, this is what this thing looks like. And that's what's so cool about it.
Because they're like, oh, it looks like a bed sheet. Why is that so scary? It's like, I don't know, but it was.
Yeah. So not to rip on your show, but now I've got to ask, your questions. Were you scared?
Look, there were definitely like... So for me, I will always say, yes, I was scared if there's at least even just one moment that sort of is enough to go, in that moment. So like we were talking about earlier, the three kids acting as aliens. I was scared. Like there's so I was scared. So technically it gets the tick for me on that one. Sean would be a lot more discerning. Tom, who knows? He's his own boy. So for me, yes. But then ultimately, like I kind of said, it technically fits into the horror genre, but sort of only just. So there is that unsettling thing, and like about it being sort of that Jaws in the sky. I think that was pretty effective, and you kind of got enough of that feeling to sort of get what that fear would be like. And especially like the setting was so perfect for it, because obviously the sky is literally all around them. They can't escape it. You can see it like, whereas coming from the city, you're just like, sometimes it feels hard to even see the fucking sky. And so for it to be so open, but for that to be a dangerous element, I thought that was really a really nice touch. And then I think the moment it sort of really hit was that scene where Keke Palmer and I've forgotten her character's name.
Emerald,
thank you. And Angel were in the house, and it's above the house, and it kind of knows they're there, and there's not really anything they can do. And then obviously it vomits all the gore onto the house, which is another great Jordan Peele visual. But like the sense of like, I'm inside a house, but I still might get taken. Like that sort of thing really, I did find really effective, and that it kind of had this power in the sense that it could hear or see them, or however, who knows what kind of sensory things it has, but enough that it was like trying to get them, and then later was trying to get OJ as well. I thought all those scenes were really good, but of course, as soon as he discovers, well, don't look it in the eye and you're okay, well, then that fear is completely undercut. So again, I get to that point, well, now it's not that scary anymore.
That's true. One thing I really appreciated about the horror elements of this film is that as it went on, it was more and more set in the daylight, which you kind of have to do around a film where the sky is the enemy, because at night you can't really see the sky.
Yes.
And I think I know that you guys have been too scared to watch Midsommar.
Yes.
But that's another film that very, very cleverly is set almost entirely in daylight and uses it so effectively. And I think that this did a similar thing where it's so rare in a horror film. You don't expect to be scared during the day. So I think the fact that entire last kind of half almost, even like the scene where Jupe and his family all get sucked up is in broad daylight. There's something really effective about that.
Hell yeah. Like, and that's the thing, especially as a scaredy boy, like, I think all of us have a natural fear of the dark to some degree, even if not so much as an adult, but when you're a kid, because it's the unknown. You literally can't see what could be out there potentially hurting you. It's like more of that primal thing. But I think if a filmmaker can make you afraid of that daytime, like they're doing their job pretty fucking great.
For sure.
Because all of a sudden you're like, oh good, I'm never safe. Thanks, dude.
Yeah. So I've got to ask then, out of 10, how are you scoring Nope?
Yeah, so like for me, when I first left the cinema, I was a bit like we were sort of saying, a bit uncertain. I would say probably an 8 out of 10. I've actually, the more I've thought about it, the more it sort of digested it. There is those few little things that it loses points on, like the Stephen Yeun plot line and arguably the gaudy stuff, as much as those visuals still rock. But all the other stuff, came together for me in a way that the more I think about it, the more I'm finding myself really enjoying it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm a 7 out of 10. I was exactly the same. Like I said, when I first walked out, I was like, I really don't know how I feel about this. And there was a little part of me that was like, I didn't like that movie.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I know that was wrong, because there is so much about this movie that works so well. I still think that cohesively, I think the script needed a prune.
Yeah.
And I think that there are moments where it starts to feel a little bit bloated. But you know what? Then a part of me thinks, well, I know that Jordan Peele is a fucking genius. Is part of that in itself a comment on spectacle? Like, is the sheer length of this film?
Dude, I love that.
Like,
is
the sheer length of this film almost like him having a bit of a wink at the camera and going like, I know this is too long and I don't care. Like this. So yeah.
Yeah, or even like the sort of the more action adventure stuff, which is like pure Spielbergian spectacle.
Oh, totally.
Like the fact that he's bringing some of that into me is, and even that's so good. And even the sort of build up to this thing of not knowing what it was, but we all want to watch it because it's going to be some kind of spectacle.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking great, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I mean, I had a great time with this movie, and I will rewatch it again. At this point in my mind, it is the weakest of the three as far as Peele films go, but who knows? Maybe on a rewatch, this will go way up.
I think Sean said the same thing. On a rewatch, he thinks it'll probably jump for him. And I think I probably even agree that it's the weakest of the three. And probably because it does have that sort of bulk in the middle that I think it probably doesn't meet, or even though it might be the gaudy stuff and all the rest. Where the other two are so sleek and so like everything they're doing is achieving exactly the goal it's seeking to achieve. Where for this one, as much as you get the theme and there's multiple elements when you look for them that is strengthening that theme, there are other moments that just feel a bit like they're there and they're great to watch and everything like that. But is it servicing story and theme as much? Possibly not.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me, man. This has been a great conversation.
Pleasure, man.
Can you tell everybody where they can find you and all the other stuff you do?
For sure. So so check out Scaredy Boys, which I do with Sean and Tom. New episodes every Friday. It's 3 cowards watching horror movies. Find that on wherever you listen to podcasts, as most of these things go.
Yeah.
And then my other podcast is Short Tales, where I share short stories I've written and have conversations with my mates about all things writing. And so that has 2 episodes every month, 1 story and 1 conversational sort of episodes. Again, wherever you listen to podcasts, you should be able to find it pretty easily. And then, you can also find me on Twitter at Midday Pajamas.
Yeah, nice. Both great shows. I'd recommend it to everyone. Scaredy Boys is a lot of fun. I've been on it. Sean's been over here. Now I've just got to get Handsome Tom on.
You get the whole set, dude. Yeah, you got to get him on.
Next week, I will be checking out Prey with my good friend Sam from Movie Reviews in 20 Qs. Have you checked that out yet?
I haven't. I'm actually dying to. Like, obviously the reviews have been very positive and generous. And I'm like, part of me is pretty gutted. It obviously didn't get a cinema release.
Oh, it really should have. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels that way. But no, very keen to check it out.
Yeah. And not to give away my hand before next week, but easily the best Predator film.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's it. Everything I hear now, I'm like, okay, now I've got to lower the hype so I don't build myself up too much. Yeah.
All right. Well, in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with me, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the handle at wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing, and I'll catch you next week. You're still here? The show's over. Go home. Go. But if you can't get enough of We Watched a Thing, why don't you check out our Patreon page? There's tons of behind-the-scenes content, heaps of bonus episodes. You can get full, unedited videos of each episode recording. You can pick a movie for me to do on the show, or even come and join me while I talk about it. So why don't you head over to patreon.com/wewatchedathing. Go watch a movie.